right. Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Still, I'm looking for one here. Yeah.
So Dave, do you want to start out?
I'm going to report on financials from the 20th.
Do you have them?
I don't have them. I have the other actions, but financials are back on my desk. So it was simply on the 20th.
It was just one, right?
Yeah, Resolution 18020, it was simply, put an encumbrance purchase order in place for purchase order for $13,699.91. Purchase order from Transit for Royal Heating and Air Conditioning Service for the installation of 2 new Carrier rooftop units. Their heat was gone, so this was kind of a fast track thing.
We'll come into spring.
Yeah, sure.
Too excited
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, up and down. Yeah, so that's what that was.
Okay.
All right.
Just to get in the basket, Dave.
Yeah, okay. And then I have some items that were approved on February 15th, 20th, and 21st. On February 15th, I grant permission on your behalf to advertise for the position of full-time attendant, number 1504, for the county home. This position will remain posted until filled.
Okay.
On the 20th, there were a number of actions I did on your behalf. For Department of Aging, I accepted the resignation of Silvana Costera, full-time social worker, number 1022, to be effective March 2nd, 2018. We're going to miss her a lot. Grant permission to advertise for a position of full-time social worker, then to replace her, number 1022. This position will remain posted until filled. For the county home, we approved hiring Mandy Hudick to the position of full-time attendant, number 1504, to be effective February 23rd, 2018, at the rate of $11.58 per hour with a 1-year probationary period. This offer of employment is contingent upon successful completion of the required pre-employment conditions. For water resources, on your behalf, I accepted the retirement resignation of James Reeder, operations manager, number 2311, to be effective March 31st, 2018. Grant permission to
When is
have
that? When is he up?
March 31st. That's his effective date of his retirement.
One more for Doug in Sedona
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
after retirement.
yeah, enjoy the weather. Then I grant permission to advertise for the position of operations manager, number 2311, internally, with applications accepted from February 21st, 2018 through 4:30 p.m. on February 27th, 2018. In the event no qualified candidate is found, the position will be advertised externally until filled. And also for water resources, approved the hiring of Lindsay Compler to the position of full-time administrative secretary, number 2319, to be effective March 12th, 2018, at a rate of $12.78 per hour with a 1-year probationary period. This offer of employment is contingent upon successful completion of the required pre-employment conditions. February 21st, for water resources, amended the motion from February 20 to correct the start date from March 12th to March 5th to read approved hiring Lindsay Compler to the position of full-time administrative secretary, number 2319, to be effective March 5th, 2018, at the rate of $12.78 per hour with a 1-year probationary period. This offer of employment is contingent upon a successful completion of required pre-employment conditions. And then wasn't there a county home action as well?
Not yet.
Not yet, didn't get it yet. Well,
It's on my desk.
It's on your
One
desk.
on my desk.
So we'll do
We
it on
haven't done
Tuesday.
any- Yeah, no, we'll take care of all that.
Okay, all right, very good. That's what I got.
Morning, Adrian.
Good morning.
Morning.
So for the financials today, we have a revenue certification for Common Pleas Court in their Court Technology Fund, supplemental for Metzenbaum Fund to meet updated Medicaid tax budget revisions, supplemental from the Engineer's Office for their Road and Bridge Fund using all the remaining unappropriated balance. Cash transfers, there's a transfer from the General Fund for Juvenile Court to the Care and Custody Fund for staff that were previously paid for by the grant and were being transitioned off, but changes were made before payroll had already been taken out. Transfer from the General Fund to Public Assistance Fund for third quarter special fiscal year 2018 mandated share. And a cash transfer to and from various funds for the 2018 workers' comp premium payment, which also included the distribution of a $266,614.30 credit received from BWC in 2017. Encumbrances include a then and now from the auditor's office to Gov Connections Incorporated for the purchase of a computer, travel requests for Jessica Lane and Kelly Conrad to attend the 2018 Ohio Economic Development Basic Course in Columbus, Ohio, travel request from JFS for Ashley Hiscox to attend the Ohio Council of Welfare Fraud Training Conference in Mount Sterling, travel request from JFS for Jennifer Weinberg, Christina Miller, and Allison Wachonik to attend the Ohio Coalition for Adult Protective Services Conference in Columbus. Contract from Transit to Foxter Solutions, DBA CTS, for the purchase of their scheduling software, and a purchase order from Water Resources to Junction Buick for the purchase of a 2018 Savannah 3500 van. Among the vouchers was $20,965.30 from the Commissioner's Office to McGlinchey Stafford for Special Prosecutor Services, and that was the then and now that you approved last week. So,
Dave, the travel request for economic development, I don't know what that course is, the Ohio Economic Development Basic Course. Does it make sense to send our new director of that as well?
I'll have Dave get with them and see what it is, maybe look at the agenda and see whether that's something. I'm not clear on a lot of these. That's part of what he actually is scheduling to meet with Anita to kind of go through some of that.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
it's not until April, so we have
So
time.
we'd have time if it makes sense for him to go, absolutely.
Okay.
Couple quick questions, Frank.
Yeah.
So the Road and Bridge Fund infrastructure, $680,000, that's coming out of what?
That's the Road and Bridge Fund for the engineer's office. They're just encumbering their unappropriated balance.
Oh, gotcha,
Yeah.
all right.
Just like we do typically at the beginning of the year as well.
There's a $20,000 Great Lakes trucking school for JFS.
Yeah, that's part of their CDL training that they've been doing for people 21 and over that want to get a CDL in
It's
order
Margo's
to
program
help them
to get
get
people trained.
jobs that
Do we
Do we know
require
what
that.
fund that they're using to fund that?
I do not know off the
Well,
top of my head. It
Yeah, it's
should-
not general fund, it's.
No, it's not.
No. And what's that account number, I'm sorry. 20, let's see.
Is that the deal that with Margot? that does the
2013.
training?
2013.
Your
Yeah.
Ohio Means
Yeah.
Jobs programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a general fund.
I'd like
it's,
to know where they're funding that from.
Sure.
We don't have to hold this up today.
I think there's actually, I think they're getting money for that too from somewhere. I don't know if it's their money that they're
There's
spending their money
no-
up front, but there might
like
be a
Chris
grant.
said,
They
they
didn't mention that, did they mention that
Come
NACOG?
from-
Well, that's where I was going with that. Since I sit on the NACOG board, I'm kind of curious if that's NACOG dollars that are going to that. I know we've talked about that kind of thing, but I'm not sure how
I don't
that's
think it
being
is. I
funded.
think it's a separate program, because I asked Craig this a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I can find out when I go out and let you know after session.
Okay.
That's a very practical training course, because there's always a shortage of people, high demand of CDL drivers.
Should we get the automated driving?
Yeah, nothing to worry about there.
All right, thanks, that's all.
Going on the road.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 18-021, itemizing the financials for the meeting of February 22nd, 2018.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And Engineer's Office. Morning, Gene.
Morning.
Something for you guys. So we have our annual road map. Then we got my entries here. So, before we get into the motions real quick, just want to give you a little recap. Every fall, we send our guys out and inspect our bridges and our roads, all of them. And in the fall, we try to assess where the needs are best spent, so we maintain our roads and bridges in the highest standard that we can. Unfortunately, sometimes we have unusual weather patterns, like one day it's 70 and the next day it's snowing,
Yeah.
and then the day after that it's 50. And we've seen some unusual acceleration in the road conditions. So one of the projects that we
This year
had-
especially?
Yeah, this winter has accelerated several roads
Okay.
sooner than we had intended to improve them. And one of the projects we had on our list for 2018 was Washington Street. We've been working on improvements down there for the last couple of years and identified some drainage issues and other concerns. We've also encountered some changes in conditions elsewhere in the county. So looking at those different stacks of roads, trying to evaluate where to best spend our 2018 dollars, we've decided to delay the Washington Street project until 2019. Will allow us to work through some of the utility conflicts down there with the energy and gas, as well as make sure that that large project is just right. And the same notion added a couple of road projects to our 2018 project that are a little more straightforward resurfacing in areas that the road conditions are considerably worse than we expected for 2018. So that's what's on our agenda for today, is to approve the first resolution for several road projects that we would like to deal with in 2018. And the map helps kind of illustrate that we're getting pretty good coverage this year. We're in 14 out of 16 townships.
I mean, I have to applaud you guys. This is so organized and planned that I'm impressed.
Thanks.
It's our roads are in good shape, and it's not by accident. So I'm always impressed by these kinds of things.
Thank you. And we try to get our best coverage that we can, and like any agency, we have a budget restriction and try to focus our resources where we think they're the most needed. Sometimes that has to be a fluid decision that if Washington Street, County Highway 606, the pavement itself is holding up fairly well, but there's some other issues that we're working towards resolving. Some of these other roads have seen quite a bit of winter damage, and we're going to try to get on them before it gets worse. So with that, I'm presenting County Highway 8, Wilson Mills, sections A through C. That's from the Geauga County line to 306. Leggett Road between 86 and 608, or 528, excuse me. Georgia Road, County Highway 40, the entire length will get resurfaced this year. And Kyle Road, sections A and B in Clarendon and Huntsville. We did include additional sections of Kyle and Leggett Road in our first resolution. We will be addressing the remainder of those roads in the next 1 to 3 years. So we're going to do our design up front and have those ready to go when the time comes.
Great.
Okay. I would read them all together then.
Here is the full resolution. Odd numbers for each one,
Okay.
depending on the number of townships. The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 18-22 to improve Wilson Mills Road CH8, sections A through C in Chester Township. The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 18-23 to improve Leggett Road CH33, sections B through E in Montville Township. The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 18-24 to improve Georgia Road CH40, sections A through D in Burton and Middlefield Townships. And the county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 18-25 to improve Kyle Road CH44, sections A through D in Clarendon, Hamden, Huntsburg, and Montville Townships.
Second?
Mr. Lemon, or Claypool?
Yes.
Mr. Lemon?
Yes.
Mr. Spudler?
Aye.
You guys are so fast.
I got one other question for you. Not too long ago, in the news, there's some conversation about the federal government focusing on rural communities for infrastructure dollars. I don't know how that would work or what that would look like, but have you guys given any thought to if we got more dollars, where you would put that?
Well, I'm not familiar with that particular article or that exact funding stream. As you're aware, we have seen a reduction in federal funds in this county, and most of the roads that qualify for federal funds are on the federal highway system. And because most of our roads are considered rural, the agency that manages those federal funds has focused their attention on the urbanized areas, which only includes, parts of the western part of our county. And so we've tried to make those a priority on the federal funding stream. But recently, there's also been a subcategory for transportation in livable communities, which will provide funding to an Amish route in Middlefield Township. So I'm not sure if it's related to that or not, but we'll certainly try to pursue those avenues and bring that money to Geauga County.
What I'd like to do, and I'll talk to Joe about this a little bit after the meeting. It was on the news, it was very public.
Okay.
The president had been saying he wants to focus infrastructure dollars on rural communities, so on and so forth. We have a contact in the White House. I've been emailing him for quite a while.
Okay.
But if we had some need, I'd throw it at him and see what he had to say.
Okay.
If he'd even respond. I don't know if he'd even respond, but I don't know if we had more dollars available for rural, I don't even know what they're talking about. You say rural communities, whether it be township roads, county roads, whatever the case happens to be. But if there was something possible there, I'd like to know about that. I might shoot him an email anyway, just a clarification.
We certainly have a large number of miles that qualify for federal aid already. But because of their rural status, their priority is lower than the urban highways. Doesn't mean they're not eligible, it just means they're not prioritized. And maybe that initiative will reset some of those priorities in our favor.
You need to get help for township roads. We got a call in the office here about Newcomb Road the other day.
Right. Most of the township roads do not qualify for the primary federal funding.
Yeah.
They're not on the highway system, which is a national highway system. Like I said, the initiative for transportation for little communities has allowed for exception to that where higher populations of non-motorized vehicles are common, and so that's where the Newcomb Road program came from. And the additional section of Newcomb Road is gravel and has lots of issues, and the local community does not currently have the funding to support part of it. So we've been working with them, try to come up with plans to either do that in multiple stages. But we're a little bit away from a solution on that one right now.
But there's other funds, not only the TLCI, which I really don't like that program, but there's the alternative forms of transportation dollars, and typically they're funded with bicycle trails.
Right.
Well, we have a safety issue down in our Middlefield area. Those dollars could be used in that situation to be able to enhance the safety for people in Middlefield and Middlefield Township and so on and so forth. So I'm being told it's a matter of just making an application. So we just need to make an application for those dollars. In addition to that, we've got a $400,000 safety fund sitting down, or $400 million safety fund sitting down in Columbus. I don't know if we've aggressively enough gone after those dollars. And so, we didn't need to take up a lot of time here, but I know there's been a huge communications about infrastructure, and I'm hoping it's not all going to go to the Hyperloop. I'd like to see some of that come to Geauga County. So we'll talk more about that offline. I'd love to see us.
Okay.
So Shane, let me ask you, do you remember about maybe a year ago, I think it might have been a year ago, the ODOT presentation that we had with, what month was it? I can't recall now, but the month that we had that presentation with Middlefield with the buggy lanes.
It was like in October, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
And then they were gonna have it where, there was X number of dollars put up or whatever, that there would be a better, where do we stand with this whole deal as far as like this whole project that was gonna get approved? And I know that, the mayor was here from Middlefield, and and I get his whole situation is they don't have the dollars to be able to put into this to kind of, the interpretation that I got is if we can get to the point that there's a certain amount of match to what they're going to do, that the state would give us a preference, because we're basically investing into that also, for those
Inside the
buggy
village
lanes.
of Middlefield, or?
Yeah, it was a whole project from Burton Windsor Road all the way to 88, that whole stretch
Okay.
of 608. But I was just curious, I haven't heard
Oh.
anything else happen or come out
That
of
did,
this.
that did go through the NOACA agenda last month.
Okay.
And the buggy lanes on 608 were approved for federal funding.
From Burton Windsor down to.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's like
the-
600
it's-
something.
It's, I think it's longer on one side than the other, because there's a couple zones where
There's a hill there.
if you're going north, you need a lane, but if you're going south, you don't. But then it's both sides for a portion of it, but
I thought it
that,
was just Burton Windsor to Nauvoo.
I think it's longer than that, but I don't remember the exact.
Yeah.
Well, there was a whole study, and we were involved, actually, I was pretty much involved in that particular study, and working with Brian, was it Brian?
Blaney.
Blaney, yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
That was in there, now he's moved. But that project was funded by ODOT. It was not funded by NOACA. NOACA had no role in that other than claiming some benefit,
Well,
and they
yeah.
provided some dollars in that. But
Federal
that's-
aid is being included in the funding package, but it's controlled through ODOT. It's,
So is that moving forward then?
yes,
Yeah, I mean, there's a.
I don't have a schedule. I mean, we.
I don't think the whole
it's-
thing down to 88 is.
No, I can find the answer to the limits. It is described in some of the NOACA literature. But
So let me ask you a question. So Middlefield, and I guess the answer to this is there a value when they're doing these projects to be able to do more for less? Like, let's say, for example, they're starting to do that project. I would think that by the time they bring all the excavation equipment and, rollers and grinders and, I mean, there's a lot of equipment I'm sure that's gonna be needed for this thing, right?
nominally, that's true. The biggest cost is always the asphalt.
Okay.
The material that goes in.
Okay.
So if you do 1 mile of road, it's X dollars, and if you do 2 miles of road, it's not 2X, it's 1.9X. So there's a nominal savings by doing larger volume, but it's not 50% savings. It's
So I guess my question is, how do you guys stand, and maybe this isn't the question to ask you, but I know that you're engaged in a lot of this and have a lot of history of understanding this, but how do we stand as a county, whether it's the engineers or whether it's the county commissioners, to potentially do something with Middlefield to possibly somehow offer assistance to be able, they're gonna have all this equipment and all of this stuff moving forward.
Right.
How much more would it take for us to really do this job once and do a good job with this, because I'll be quite honest with you, it's major risk. I mean, we're talking not necessarily convenience, but we're talking lives, and that's truly a major danger situation there, and and I don't know, and I've even thought about it is I'm just talking out loud. I haven't talked to anybody about this, but what would happen if we would try to work with even Middlefield to possibly set up something like what we did with the engineer's office when we built that salt garage, where we were to say, we could put a situation where you guys repay us back. We kick in X number of dollars and work with Middlefield maybe to say, we'll put in this much, but you need to repay us this much, and maybe to try to negotiate something where we could go to this contractor and say, hey, listen, we're gonna give you another 2 miles or another whatever, I don't know what it is exactly what the distances are, but I think that there's a huge need, and
Okay.
I think that, and it's just, it's a big hazard, you know, and I don't know if there's something that, like, who do I ask to try to approach this? Do I talk to?
It's an interesting question because it's a state-run project with federal dollars on a state highway that extends into a municipality. So from the engineer's perspective, we're hands-off. We don't have a stake in either side of that
Right.
project. From a financial standpoint, between the commissioners and the municipality, I'm not really familiar with what abilities you guys have to do, cross
Like, would
municipal.
you two be opposed to try to set up a meeting?
And actually, I was a part of a number of the meetings over there, and there's even more to this than that. First of all, ODOT did a really nice job. ODOT and our county engineer. They were both involved directly with creating a plan. The plan is a good plan.
Right.
It identified township opportunities for improvement of safety, city, Middlefield opportunities for improvement, and county opportunities for improvement. There's signage, there's widening of roads, there's a whole plethora of different things that improve the safety out there. The challenge always gets to be funding.
Right.
The townships don't necessarily have the funding to accomplish some of this. And I'm going to restate this. There's a $400 million safety fund that's going unused in the state of Ohio. Our state legislators and ODOT should be able to go after that state money and be able to put it into this effort. And you are exactly right, Ralph. You're right on the money. We've got people out there doing the work. Why don't we just focus and do the entire plan? And what I have heard from ODOT, which frustrates the dickens out of me as a taxpayer as well as a commissioner, is that they want to go through this whole process. We hear on the news through this administration and so forth, it takes 10 years to plan something. The planning cycle takes so long, it is ridiculous. And it can be accelerated. And I challenged ODOT with that a little bit because it has to do with right-of-ways. And there were a number of people in Middlefield Township, in the township building, and I asked the people who were in the audience, those of you who live along these highways, would you be willing to give up your property, 15 feet, 20 feet, whatever, for the safety of the community? Every person, to a person, said yes. So I looked at ODOT and said, if they're willing to give up their property, can we accelerate the process? Take it from 5 years down to a year or 2 years? They didn't know what to say because they're so used to going through this bureaucratic process. And so, I think it's doable. And I think this office can work with Middlefield Township, Burton, and the communities that are involved and probably come up with a plan. And part of that plan may be getting our state legislators to help us a little bit to get some of that funding, and ODOT.
First, I'd like to at least answer to the question of what is planned for widening.
Yeah.
Because I know portions of that stretch of 608 are approved for funding, and the planning part of it has already been kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
Does that plan match up to the wishes or expectations? I can't answer that because I don't know the specifics well enough to answer to that. If it does not, where do those additional areas lie inside the municipality of Middlefield Village? The responsibilities of funding are different than outside the municipality, and those questions and answers probably need to get mapped out. If that's something that
So would anybody be opposed if we were to put together some of the players in this situation and just
Absolutely.
have a conversation about this to try to,
Absolutely.
before this thing were to start, that it'll be too late.
Right.
We can,
Well, and we have dollars scheduled to NOACA, which are not dollars for safety. They're dollars for recreation and some other things. We ought to be able to go back and reschedule those dollars into something more appropriate, possibly. I mean, I don't know. I have to look and work with the county engineer.
so the
because you guys are closer to
NOACA
this.
approval was to do the funding for the federal program?
correct.
For a piece.
For several pieces of that section of 608.
Okay.
I believe that most of it is outside of the village proper, but don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly certain because there was a couple of pieces that
Okay.
were approved. And as Skip and I mentioned, ODOT has access to federal aid.
Okay.
That money is theirs to delegate and to spend, but it has to go through NOACA for approval even though it's more of a pass-through approval process, NOACA can't say no. It just have to be they're the mechanism that.
There's also state funding, and so
Well,
you're
yeah,
saying federal
but that-
funding, but there's also state funding.
Correct,
So-
correct. Which is again, ODOT's decision.
Right. And we could sit down and get Jennifer Townsley and whoever else down
But
here
like
from
many of the
planning.
roads in Chardon City, they're state routes, and the state supports a project and funds a significant portion of those projects, even though under some stipulations, they're not obligated to do 100% in some regards.
Okay.
They're not obligated. So it's where it gets a little less linear, and there's some other.
It gets so muddy. I mean, I was there very frustrated sitting in on some of those meetings and listening to all of the, because you got jurisdictional issues, city, township, ODOT, and we need to somehow find a way, and Ralph, you were right on as far as I'm concerned. Getting all the liars in a room and saying, okay, yeah, we know we got all these problems, but how do we get through these? How do we get something done? Because there's gotta be a way.
And we are getting things done. It just may not always be 100% of what we intended to get done.
Sure.
Because somebody said, well, we'll do 80% and then we're stopping, and that's better than some other areas that are getting zero done.
Nothing, yeah.
But-
I agree.
And not that we want to accept a compromise that's unsafe or incomplete, but sometimes getting part of it done is the first step in saying, look what we've done, now let's do the other half or the other portion,
Sure.
because we've proven that it's necessary and it's better than it was. Sometimes
Well, ODOT proved that it was necessary. Look in their study.
right.
So they know, they already have the plan.
Right.
It's just a 10-year plan.
And the plan focused on the areas that were of the highest safety risk.
Mhm.
Whether there are additional areas that an individual or a group would say is of equal importance, some of those decisions have already been made once, and can they be revisited before, during, or after to include extending those limits into some of the areas you're talking about?
So what do you recommend? I try to get a hold of Joe on this, and then he
Yeah, I
can
mean,
tell me who
I
else
think
to-
he is more familiar with
Okay.
what was talked about up front and what the decisions were made.
Okay.
I know of it, but I don't know the
Okay.
details exactly.
All right. Why? Thank you. Yeah. I just don't want, sometimes too many times, I guess, we talk about stuff and then nothing happens,
Right.
and I think that this is something that is important, and we'll see what we could do to follow up on it then. I appreciate your input.
Okay?
Thanks, Jim.
Guys.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Okay. And Dave. Morning. How are you? Wow.
You know, Ralph, FYI, there is something happening in 87.
Okay.
Because I got a email a while ago from I think it's the engineer on the job regarding the additional road right away. Because I review all that.
Okay, on 87?
Yeah,
Going out east of Middlefield?
I think it is, but I
Yeah.
don't have any
Yeah.
details on it.
Yeah, they are doing pretty.
Yeah, that was part of the plan.
I don't have the details on it, but there's something happening with additional road right away acquisition on 87. Just an FYI.
Okay.
This particular, we did this at our last planning commission meeting, so I know you're familiar with it, but I thought I'd give you the. Basically, the gentleman involved here is replatting 4 sublots in Canyon 13C. And instead of 4, we'll have 3 at the end of the day. So the lots will be a little bit larger. We got 2 lots about 1 acre in size, and one approximately 8/10 of an acre, about 180 feet of frontage, give or take, 50-foot setbacks, 15-foot side yard setback, all in accordance with zoning. So we've got the Bainbridge zoning inspector sign off on it. We have Joe Catel's sign off on that Mylar, and prosecutor's office. So I think we're in good shape, obviously, with the planning commission.
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's good, Dave. Thank you for the time on this.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna see an extension by the way of Clayton that comes in off of Red Road. And there's going to be rather substantial cluster development.
When did
off
this,
of Clayton.
is how much more acreage or development space is left in this? I
Kind of
mean,
getting down to the nitty gritty.
yeah, I'd have to imagine there's not much left over there.
We're down in that southeasterly corner
Yeah.
of the original overall site,
And when did that all start, Canyon
late
Lakes?
1970s.
Oh, really? That far back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hugh Edwards and Art Merriman
Yeah.
started it.
It's been a heck of a run for those guys, for sure.
Yeah, this thing, actually, the property started out in life as a quarry.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then
Didn't know that.
Edwards and Merriman developed this as a planned unit development. They'll have over approximately 600 units when we build out.
Okay.
No, is that part of that, is that the water that you see off of 422, is that part of the quarry that was there?
That's, some of it might have been some of the original
Okay.
vestiges of it, but.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Hmm.
But, yeah, there were various quarry sites in Bainbridge years ago. The other one was a Pettibone in 306,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where that developed, Stone Ridge was developed there.
I see.
Yeah, it was pretty active at some time.
Hmm.
A little bit before my time.
Yeah.
Not much.
So anyway, we will eventually, I talked to the project engineer on this, we'll see an extension of Clayton, and then we'll get into that cluster development, Tim, that will be really kind of the last phase or phases of King.
Yeah. I saw them cutting in the road, I think maybe last March.
Yeah, they've been working.
Yeah.
See, we got, things are a little bit different in Keene, and because of the agreed judgment entry, ordinarily, we wouldn't let them do all that.
Mhm.
The staging, however, due to the judgment entry is a little bit different. So they do some things in terms of construction up front that we wouldn't ordinarily allow under our current standards. But at the end of the day, it all comes out in the wash because it's reviewed by the county engineer's office and so forth. So it's covered, the bases are covered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
You need to sign that.
Yep.
The planning commission is requesting the board approve and execute the final replat of the Commissioners Lakes County subdivision of occupancy sub-lots 314 through 317 in Bainbridge Township.
Second?
Commissioner Clickwell? Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Right.
Toothbrush there.
You guys just want to skip over maintenance?
I'd like to. Today, I think we should. Yeah, just. Would you like to skip over me?
He came in Tuesday morning and he's like, I'm gonna bring you all the stuff over. And I said, oh, for next week. And he goes, no, for Thursday.
Since we're skipping it,
Poor
so
Glenn.
you're aware,
Poor Glenn.
I gotta take the HVAC off of this building and put it down in transit.
Oh.
Let's get a wood
So they all
burner.
have heat down
You
there.
got a wood
Well,
burner for
that
us,
might
Dave.
be a
Go
good
ahead.
thing. That means that we get the new stuff, right?
We can take one out of your horse barn.
Yep.
Alrighty, Glenn, if you can kind of make this snappy.
Okay. The first one, we've been having problems with the janitor cleaning that we hired.
Right.
Some serious problems we ran into a week ago. It just, like, we can't trust them, so I cannot take a chance in front of the prosecutors or anybody else's areas with this group, so I want to terminate them.
And the goal is to propose
Yeah.
hiring
Hiring
county
in-house.
staff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And do it because of the security, the background checks and everything. These guys are having serious problems getting people with background checks.
I just think it's a good idea all the way around. I really
This way
do.
we know who's in the building. I'm not taking phone calls at night saying
Yep.
we have unauthorized people in the building.
For sure.
So,
Let me ask you, so these two that you propose to hire, they would be janitorial cleaning But you would be able to repurpose them for other jobs, or, I mean, this wouldn't keep them busy just in the prosecutor's office or something?
I think we can keep them busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, between the safety center,
Uh-huh.
the annex, I already got a guy in the opera house and the courthouse, with vacuuming, with all this stuff.
Gotcha.
You just don't realize the number of calls I take because of something's not getting done, or the trash was not empty last night, or vacuum, especially this time of season.
Right.
There's salt, and, you know, that just
Sure.
scraping all the salt up and then mopping and then everything,
Right.
so.
Is there an opportunity to reduce the cost by maybe replacing some of another contractor or something?
I'm looking at that too. Maybe we can do more in-house, steam cleaning carpets and everything, keeping that up, window cleaning. Some of the windows we'll have to look at. You gotta go 3 stories up.
So for some of these secure areas like the jail and the courts, prosecutor's office, when you hire outside contractors, I mean, is there a screening that
Oh, yeah.
these is done
Yes.
ahead of time? And what was the big problem? They just couldn't get people to pass the screenings, or?
Right. We
Yeah.
send it to the prosecutor's office and the jail.
Yeah.
So both of them do whatever they want, and then they send it back to us saying yes or no.
Hmm.
I don't really get into asking, why didn't you pass, what are you looking for, or anything. I just
Okay.
take it off of those 2 elected officials saying yes or no. So,
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it's,
Does it cost us more to get qualified people in there? Is that the expense, or?
it's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It just all depends on the
Okay.
caliber of people, especially the prosecutor's office. I'm not gonna take that chance.
Right.
If somebody gets in there and there's a case going on or something's happening, and I'm not gonna put our staff or another staff, county employees at risk for this, so, especially the jail too.
Right. Yeah, the jail
Juvenile
for sure.
court,
Yeah.
you know, they got all those cases going on. So,
Yeah.
we had a problem, about 2 years ago, a temp we had kept going, leaving
Really?
her post going up to juvenile court because she was in a court battle, and then she started throwing around, hey, I got the
Really?
ID badge, I'm going right on in.
Huh.
It was like, time out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds better is from a control point of thing, you know, if they're your or our employees, you know.
is it perfect? No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Do I have problems in-house too? Yes, I do, but I have more of a control. I
Right.
know who's in our buildings
Right.
at night.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And they all understand if anybody comes in with you, if I'm not aware of it,
Yep.
they're gone.
I would
They're
just break it down, you know, I'm sure you will anyway, but what these 2 employees are gonna cost versus
Yeah.
what what the outside contractors
Correct.
cost, you
Right.
know, with healthcare benefits and every, you know, just so we have an understanding of what
And
the
I'm gonna give
difference
you
is.
the high cost.
Yeah,
All right, because between family insurance and a single insurance,
Mhm.
there's a big difference there.
Mhm.
About what, 10 grand, I think? it
Oh, yeah.
is? Right, but I'm gonna give you the high cost.
Okay.
So,
Worst case scenario.
yeah, I'm
Just
giving
so we
you
have
the
an
worst
idea,
case
yeah.
scenario. So, and I got that all planned out, so
good,
we'll go from there.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
So with that, the maintenance department is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute a notice of termination of janitorial cleaning service contracts with Interstate Building Maintenance Corporation at the Geauga County Courthouse Annex and the Geauga County Safety Center to be effective immediately.
Get a motion?
Yes, we do. Are you making that, or?
No, I was just asking.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Hi.
The next one's transit, their roof units went, they got 3 of them down there.
Okay.
3 of them, every one of them has a major problem.
Okay.
All at once.
How old are they?
They're
17 years,
yes,
18 years.
17 years old.
What are you doing down there, Mike? Can you extend those a little bit?
I told the people, just wear coats, tough it out.
Makes sense to me.
We cut off heat in my office. That's where I come.
They just go sit in their vehicle now.
You know, we warm up a vehicle and
Yeah, but this is for 3 units. We went out and did aggressive on this. We got it down to 13,000. So we really looked at this because the prices ranged anywhere from 32 to 13,000. So it was a major difference. So we really looked hard at the tonnage. They're 5 ton and 2 4 tons. Looked at everything. It's all the same equipment. This is a small company starting it. It's been in Willoughby for a while,
Who is it?
Royal.
Roy.
So.
It's equivalent to, I mean, it's the same manufacturer that you
Yeah.
have in other buildings?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good quality.
Yeah, it's a carrier
Yeah,
unit.
yeah.
It's already up on the roofs.
Yeah.
So, and it's a small company, and they really believe in the story. I kind of heard how the company started and everything. I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Good.
So, we got it from Train Gardner
Yeah.
and Geauga Mechanical, and they got a lot, they're big businesses, and they got a lot of admin and everything. So we really watch them, Royal, and see how
And
they
you think
do.
it's
and-
apples to apples?
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
quality
Correct.
equipment. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
yep.
Good.
Okay.
Along with that, a couple kudos to, I have to say it to his crew. They came out right away, and they helped us out a lot with the state because we had the 3 bids in a very timely fashion.
Mhm.
And because we did that, we were able, the state normally would not pay for more than 50% of these. We were able to get those in right away. And let them threats of fighting frozen bodies and stuff. And they agreed to pay 90% of it. So we're getting 90% reimbursement on that.
Wow,
for
great.
2091.
Excellent. Excellent.
And then his guys, and then they also had the contractor come out, Royal, and we made sure they were wanted to work with us because we had some questions about setting up with a crane, because you have to take these off the top, to make sure we would do as little damage as possible, like maybe to a sidewalk or something like that.
Mhm.
They're not even gonna approach any of that stuff. They're gonna get a bigger crane, I think, to actually
Mhm.
have a longer reach. And then last but not least, they agreed to not take the units with them to scrap out. They left with us for us to scrap out, so we could scrap them and get some more ones in there.
What's the roof like on that building? Condition right now.
The roof, the condition of the roof is pretty good.
Yeah.
We go up, we do, every year we go up there in the spring. It's a metal roof. We'll look for if there's any issues, leaks. I mean, we have a.
Okay.
We
Okay.
tube up the holes, and if there's any
Yeah.
cracks and stuff, we seal them, that kind of thing. We do our own maintenance on it pretty much. We
Okay.
haven't had any issues about it, so.
It's a federal building, so my department usually does not get involved.
Touch it,
too much.
yeah.
It's his department, and we can assist and help anytime that they need it. Some small stuff, like backflow preventers. I see no reason why 4 or 5 departments should go out and look for a contract. So I do it for a lot. JFS and other departments trains it, and then we just do a back charge on that. So
Mhm.
so much easier, so
Mhm.
much better. Work together, and we go with that. So, and this is another one of those where bringing somebody in and starting getting quotes.
Okay.
I call Glenn and ask.
Yeah. Very good.
The maintenance department is requesting the board approve an activity service contract agreement with Royal Heating and Air Conditioning Service to replace rooftop HVAC units at the Geauga County Transit Building during the year 2018 in an amount not to exceed $13,691.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler?
Right.
Thanks,
Hey, y'all
guys.
have a good day.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I'll call you about that.
And then Transit Department, you have Mark Zimmerman for part-time driver to full-time?
Yes, we had the one, a couple of sessions ago, you guys okay?
Yep.
One guy resigned, or really retired from it, lived with his daughter on the west side or something.
Okay.
And we had that opening. And Mark, I knew we're a part-time guy, but George just said if I can apply for that, so he applied, interviewed, all that good stuff. Not only he's been a good employee for us.
Okay.
Not getting any radio calls and complaints or anything, so.
Sounds good.
The Transit Department is requesting the board reclassify Mark Zimmerman from part-time driver number 2210-1 to full-time driver number 2210 to be effective March 5th, 2018, remaining at his current hourly rate and completion of his one-year probationary period.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler?
Right.
Where can I buy one of those hats?
Get you one.
No, I'll buy it, I just wanna know.
Well, I got I'm probably gonna go with a different uniform provider, my contract's coming up.
Yeah.
And, he's throwing in some stuff for me.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be hats.
I like the hats, it's nice.
T-shirts.
So your drivers wear camouflage
And we, That's why you don't see so many people on the bus.
Because they're all-
You walked into that, I had to say, I'm sorry. And then when you
I'm not
when you
talking
do
about
bad things,
writers.
nobody can tell who they were, who they are.
Yeah.
You didn't see the Claypool for commissioner hats I had on?
I did not yet, but I'd be happy to see those.
ODOT called, but I said, nah, it's not us.
Did you see the Ford had a car outfitted with a guy who was in a camouflage suit that made him look like the seat.
Really?
And so it was driving around with the intent of getting the reaction from the public if they saw a driverless car running around. What would that be? And so the guy literally was driving the car in a camouflage suit,
They look like the car.
and so it looked like the car. And so
We have
you could do that with your drivers. You could make them, nobody,
And what,
Nobody on the-
comments, or did they not give us that feedback yet, or
no, they haven't given us the
people
feedback.
go, man, that guy's dressed funny, is what they said.
Maybe you could get it camouflaged that would fit the background where you sit here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nobody would know I was here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that would work.
All right.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir. All righty, number 12.
Number 12 is, this is the annual contract. Maximus has been doing our cost allocation plan since before I got here, and the annual cost has never changed. It was 11,000 when I started in '04, and it's still 11,000. So they go out, gather all the information from the departments in the general fund that provide services to all county departments, including departments that are not in the general fund. So JFS is a big part of that, and part of the reason that this all started a long time ago is the federal government says to local counties, hey, if your auditor and prosecutor and commissioner's office and treasurer, they're all providing services to support this program that's underwritten with federal money, as long as you have a process to keep track of the costs, you can charge that outside fund and reimburse the general fund. So I believe we get around $500,000 a year, round numbers, back to the general fund based on these calculations.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and authorize the President of the Board to execute the agreement to provide professional consulting services with Maximus Consulting Services Incorporated for services rendered in the development of the County Central Services Cost Allocation Plan for the period January 1st, 2018 through March 31st, 2019, in the amount of $11,000.
Do you, I'm sorry, do we pay into this?
So the general fund pays for this, but then you get that money back.
Okay.
And there was actually, just to add, there was one other company that approached us a while back, a couple of years ago, but they didn't have any track record.
I don't know if I'm, not awake yet, but I'm not quite following this.
So
Well, it's-
we pay for, and I beat Dave up over this when I became a new commissioner quite a bit, so I wasn't real
It's
comfortable.
healed, it's healed.
I wasn't real comfortable with spending this at $11,000. It's a cost allocation thing, so we provide services to various other departments, the auditor, the prosecutor, so on and so forth. And so we're getting paid back for those services, the general fund is.
Okay.
And these guys go out and sort out what it is that we've paid out. We could do this ourselves theoretically, but it would take us a lot of work to figure out, what was it that we provided service-wise to JFS or to whomever. These guys just go through.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
and
what-
the actual cost, like the cost of running the auditor's office, the prosecutor's office, the commissioner's office, treasurer's office, the actual cost of providing services to all county departments is a lot higher than the $500,000. The $500,000 though is the amount that we can identify that are being performed for departments where they're legally able to pay. So, if there was no central payroll or IT services or whatever, JFS, a big complicated department with 90 employees,
Yeah.
they'd have to have people doing all that stuff. So that would cost them a lot of money. It's performed on their behalf, and they're able to pay us back, so the general fund is partially reimbursed. In this service, this company, they have the track record, it's never been questioned on an audit or anything, where they come back and say, we think your charges are goofy, we don't support how you're doing the calculation. They have such track record and experience in this, they do it every year, it's accepted every year by the auditor, and the general fund then gets back, the portion of money that we're able to charge, the outside departments are able to pay us.
Okay.
Oh, did you read it already?
Yeah.
Good, so moved.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool? Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
say this?
Yeah, perfect. This next one is just simply, I think we have to change some language in the motion on which the board moved to engage Walter Haverfield, so.
Yes, last week they just approved the engagement letter, and now they have to actually execute. So the Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board amend the motion from February 13, 2018 to approve and execute the engagement letter to provide outside legal services to Geauga County Board of Commissioners, Walter Haverfield, attorneys at law, for the year 2018 in an amount not to exceed $30,000 without prior approval from the board.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yes.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
Right.
Okay, I just got
Got it? Okay.
Okay, next is gonna be Commissioners requesting the board approve and execute Resolution 18026 honoring the Geauga County 4-H as the 2018 Leadership Geauga Emerald Leader Award winner.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
So the Commissioner's Office is requesting the board close the position for the position of planner. A lot of P's in there.
Pick up.
Say it quickly.
Say that 3 times fast. So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yes.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
Right. Okay, so now we've got, for number 16, do you want to read that one?
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute Resolution number 18-27 to create the Geauga County Department of Development, which shall consist of the Building Department and the Community and Economic Development Department.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
Yes.
Number 17 then is the Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve the new organizational chart for the Department of Development to be effective February 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller? So what that just shows you is that this is David, and then Community Development, and then Building, all merged under Department of Development, and we remove the planner position as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And
18,
yes,
the Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve the revised job descriptions for the positions of Director, Community and Economic Development, number 1401, and Chief Building Official, number 1101, under the Department of Development to be effective February 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yes.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
right.
Now we're going into executive session.
And so, need a motion to enter an executive session for the purpose of discussing employment of a county employee in the Commissioner's Office.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiller?
Right.
Third check.
Just one thing before we go into executive session. It was brought to my attention, the variance request that was brought to us over 30 days ago. Do you know if that time has come and gone?
The time has come and gone. We received a document from Ms. Fulton the other day that I scanned and sent to Laura. It was signed by the member of the development agency, Geauga Development.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was not executed by Soil and Water Conservation. So I'm waiting for the prosecutor's office to advise where you are taking this next.
So she complied with 30 days in terms of making a request, or what was the?
No, Sheila and her have been going back and forth, from my understanding, and there were changes that needed to be made to the agreement that she was not agreeing to, and so she had her client sign the agreement and just send it in, and it does not include the last changes that needed to be made. So I'm waiting to hear from the prosecutor's office as to what's going to happen next.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you want to take that with us?
Okay.
Really?